Hello, and thank you for taking the time to learn more about the upcoming building renovation rebuilding project that will affect the Active Adult Center, the library, and City Hall, and Fire Station 2. This will be the most significant capital investment the City of Madison Heights has ever made. My name is Melissa Marsh. I'm the City Manager of Madison Heights, and I'm here along with Sean Valentine from the Department of Public Services, and we will be presenting this concept for you today. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me at the City Hall. My phone number is 248-583-0829. We'll also be having another in-person meeting on October the 4th at the library at 6 o'clock. Today we're going to cover the overview of the project, briefly talk about the funding and answer some questions that we've already received, talk about the background and really why this is a good project for the city and the common sense best method of moving forward, and then also go through some project concept ideas for the Civic Center Plaza and Fire Station 2. So what are we actually talking about? The plan is to rebuild the Active Adult Center on the Civic Center Plaza while also renovating the library and City Hall as part of this construction. As you'll see on this slide, the pink area is the new build that will be part of the Active Adult Center. And you can see we have 13 Mile and Brush Street just so you can get your bearings. The Active Adult Center was originally designed in 1975. It was expanded in 1985 to add a new kitchen, meeting rooms, offices, and storage space. The site is about 4.9 acres, and it is approximately 11,554 square feet. City Hall was originally designed at the same time as the library in 1963. It's approximately 17,000 square feet, and the library is 16,700 square feet. Since fiscal year 2019 and through the recession, the city didn't have the funding available to complete major maintenance or building projects. This, coupled with normal wear and tear and age, has taken its toll on these city facilities. In addition, the residents have been asking for a renovation of the library the entire time I've been at the city, which has been over 16 years. In 2007, the city did a small renovation for $790,000 that resulted in a lot of non-resident facing work to be completed: asbestos abatement, HVAC work, and fire suppression. Yes, we did get new study rooms and carpet, but overall the resident feel of the library hasn't changed much. This slide is a draft concept and really being presented for you today so you can see how the Active Adult Center footprint is going to expand. It is going to go from 11,554 square feet to around 14,000 square feet. And that is really because City Hall is going to be downsized. City Hall is currently 17,444 square feet, and it'll be going to 11,342 square feet. So in this slide, the blue area to the left represents the new footprint of City Hall. The pink area will be dedicated Active Adult Center space, and then the purple on the far right is the library. So how did this idea come about? I've been asked a lot about how this idea came about so fast, and I just want to reassure everybody we have been looking at this idea since the fall of 2018. The city at that time conducted their first strategic plan where all the department heads and city council got together to talk about really the needs of the city and where we see the city going forward in 5 to 10 years. The main topic of conversation, other than public safety, was the quality of our buildings and the lack of maintenance and the need to shore up some of the major issues going on in our public buildings. We also established 5 main focus areas at this time: public safety, quality of life, infrastructure and capital assets, economic development, and financial stability. Each year since, we balanced the budget around these 5 focus areas. Having now addressed the priorities of the public safety needs, we are starting to address the quality of life issues this year, which overlap with infrastructure capital assets and really brings us to where we are today. We need to repair the assets we currently have before we start adding other items. City Council has now heard this proposal 3 times, and 3 times have unanimously approved moving forward. In late 2019, we hired Partners in Architecture to review the city facilities and tell us several things. 1, what issues do each building have? What would it cost to repair or renovate the buildings where they are? Would it be possible to even move the Active Adult Center to the Civic Center complex connecting the active adult center to City Hall and the library? What option is the most economical? And long-term, what is the best option for the city? In addition, Partners in Architecture also analyzed Fire Station 2, answering generally the same questions. Sean Ballantyne is going to be reviewing each facility in a little bit, including Fire Station 2, to kind of talk about the process that Partners in Architect went through and the cost of some of the much-needed repairs. So before we get into that, I really want to cover the funding because this seems to be the number one question that we get. So in order to repair the buildings and all the issues that you'll hear Sean talk about, the Active Adult Center is $4.3 million. That does include about a 1,000 square foot addition, but that would not be completed for 7 to 10 years from now. The library repair cost is around $1.8 million, and City Hall is almost $6 million. That leaves us a subtotal for just the Civic Center complex at $12.2 million. In addition to that, Fire Station 2 needs are $3.3 million. So that brings a total cost to repair to about $15.5 million. Being that as it made, Partners in Architect looked at what it would cost to renovate and rebuild the buildings. So to do the Active Adult Center at Civic Center Plaza and to completely rebuild that building as well as the library and City Hall is $9.2 million, and Fire Station is $3.9. So that brings the total for a renovate, update, and rebuild to $13.1. When we started talking about the feasibility of these projects and when we thought we could do Fire Station 2, it seemed to make the most sense to combine the Fire Station 2 project with the Civic Center project so we really could maximize economies of scale. That's going to reduce the cost an estimated 12 to 15% and bring the total in at around 11.6. So where's this 11.6 coming from? The second most frequently asked question I get is, where is the money coming from, and are our taxes going to go up? And the question to that is no. So let me first walk through where the funding actually is coming from. Most of you have probably heard about American Rescue Funding, which just made it through the federal government. Madison Heights is getting $3.1 million of that, and we will be using that towards this project. We have $950,000 in general fund reserves. Each year we budget around $400,000 for current needs within each building, so we currently have $435,000 budgeted for that will be used towards this project. We have an estimated cost for, or amount that we can sell the Active Adult Center parcel for once this project's complete, and that's $1.3 million. And then we would be issuing a debt for $5.8 million. That brings the total to the 11.6. So the issuance of debt would typically be what would cause an increase in taxes. But in 2004, the residents of Madison Heights passed a bond to fund Fire Station number 1. That bond is expiring in 2023. And this slide is a sample of your current tax bill. So you will see close to the bottom, Fire Station bonds expiring in 2023 for $500,000. That's going to fall off your tax bill in 2023. We do have the capacity under the new charter limit in Madison Heights to increase to pay for this bond. So if you look in the second column, the charter millage is going to be going up $500,000. So the overall total taxes would stay the same, and that will allow us to be able to repay the bond for this project. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Sean to talk about each building and really the maintenance needs.
Thank you, Melissa. As we get started taking a closer look at these buildings, it's important to note that the city has not simply allowed these buildings to fall into disrepair. Considerable capital investment has been made, but due to funding limitations, we've historically only been able to take an approach of fixing the worst of the worst, or basically a triage mentality. In addition to a triage mentality at each building, the repairs at the buildings are also pitted against each other during the budget process. As Melissa mentioned, we get right around $400,000 available in the budget to take care of all 13 city buildings. As an example for you, the recently replaced roof at the police department cost over $600,000, or a year and a half of capital outlay at a single building. Taking a look at City Hall, the building is 58 years old and is suffering from deferred maintenance with several high-dollar items coming due. There's also simple routine maintenance and building preservation which needs to take place, but consistently falls to the bottom of the list when compared to the more critical needs. On this slide, we highlight the need for tuck pointing of the mortar joints and addressing the waterproofing system on the northwest corner. Similar conditions exist in the entirety of the building envelope, which is not only an aesthetic issue, but contributes to water infiltration and energy loss. This water infiltration through the building envelope and failures of the building's waterproofing system have caused heaving and shifting of the brickwork and landings. Now, some of these conditions that City Hall is experiencing are relatively minor. A bit of rust and flaking here and there, insects and animals nesting in gaps in the soffits. These are not ideal situations, but they're readily addressed. But the issue becomes the prioritization of duties and the availability of time. Caulking all of the window casements, unfortunately, has to take a back seat to failed drainage piping, roof leaks, or boiler failures. The problems with our City Hall are therefore threefold. The building is underutilized for the amount of staff it currently houses. The building was constructed to a different standard as far as security and accessibility are concerned. And after 58 years of service, several major building systems are in a state of failure, including the foundation, which is seeping water in multiple areas of the lower level. The required general maintenance also continues to take a backseat to the high-dollar items that are well past their life cycle. The building still has its original air handling and control system from 1963. The boilers and chiller were replaced in 1991, which are now 30 years old. All of these systems are well overdue for replacement and represent a needed capital investment of hundreds of thousands of dollars. Regarding the parking lots, the vast majority of the parking lots at the Civic Center campus, as well as the Active Adult Center, are in fair to poor shape, but well past any kind of patchwork repair. If maintained in their current configuration, approximately $1.8 million of paving is required at the Civic Center campus alone. The library was built at the same time as City Hall, making it also 58 years old. As Melissa pointed out, the renovation, and we use the term loosely, provided needed repairs to the building, but failed to address nearly all of the major programmatic issues. By the time the roof was replaced and the asbestos was abated and the bathrooms were built, there was barely enough left over to give the building a coat of paint, new carpet, and a new drop ceiling. It is also important to note that the issues which were not addressed at the time, such as the air handling system and water infiltration of the return air tunnel, have contributed to the rapid decline of the building post-renovation. Being built at the same time on the same site, the library is suffering from similar issues as City Hall, such as settlement and shifting of the masonry and slabs. Now, as I mentioned, many of these improvements to the library were subject to a relatively rapid decline due to existing building conditions. Additionally, that renovation was 14 years ago. Now, of the three buildings, the library is probably in the best shape as far as the building is concerned, having received extensive waterproofing, a new HVAC system, new carpeting, and other repairs in recent years. Unfortunately, none of this corrects the awkward layout and lack of presence this building has. The Active Adult Center is between 36 and 46 years old, depending on which part of the building you're standing in. Unlike our City Hall and library, it was built in a different era and unfortunately with a cheaper construction methodology. As a result, the issues with this building are twofold. It suffers from deferred maintenance and is overdue for some major repairs, and much like the library, its renovation and expansion in the mid-'80s resulted in an extremely confusing layout with poor programmatic function. The building requires extensive tuck pointing and repairs of its masonry system and the surrounding metal trim. The building envelope is virtually uninsulated, consisting of a layer of face brick. The brown block that you see on the outside is actually the same that you see on the inside for the majority of the building. As a result, the already significant heat loss during the winter is only exacerbated by the failed sealants around the window and building envelope. There are also some significant functional issues reflecting a clear lack of design and vision. If you look at the lower left, we see an emergency exit from the lunchroom with a 10-inch drop immediately on the other side of the door. Like the other buildings, less significant repair and maintenance continues to be deferred, despite the best efforts of staff, due to higher priority items taking precedence for both staff time and available funding. One of the important things to note is the lunchroom. This room is sinking, and we are not entirely certain why. We've lost about half an inch on the south side of the building. The floor is separating from the wall, and the ceiling soffit is showing these cracks. The problem is that this is a huge cost unknown. We can get a rough number to simply investigate it, but the findings of exactly why that room is sinking could easily indicate hundreds of thousands of dollars of necessary repairs. And it doesn't stop there. Other parts of the building are exhibiting similar issues, indicating a much more widespread foundation or subgrade issue that needs to be addressed if the building is to continue to function in its current configuration. Fire Station 2 on John R. Road was constructed in the late 70s and unfortunately was designed for a time when female firefighters were not part of the city staff. The building has seen relatively few improvements since its original construction and is suffering from the ceiling falling down, various drywall cracks, failures of brick masonry work. One of the most important problems with this building is a safety concern. Larger fire trucks, such as what we have today, simply do not fit properly in the bays. If a fire truck is out on the front apron, it is blocking the sidewalk with its nose nearly in John R. Road simply to do routine maintenance or pre-shift checks on the trucks.
So this is just an example of the 13-mile front view that's being presented by Partners in Architecture. As you can see there, I wish I could point in this video, but you can see the entrance to City Hall, and you can see to the far right the side entrance to the library. So the piece in the middle would be new. These are just samples. This is not the final project. This would be the north view being proposed with a dedicated entrance for the Active Adult Center, dedicated entrance for the library and City Hall. So this is the side that currently faces the police department. And then we have some just suggestions. We currently are moving into the design phase of this project, so we are very open to color schematics or any design layouts. If any residents see anything that they like, feel free to email us a photo. This is a design for a room that the active adults said was very important to them, and that is their current Fireside room. So this is different examples. In addition, an update to the Breckenridge Room. This is a room that currently is utilized outside the Active Adult Center for baby showers and that type of thing after hours. The Active Adult Center will have the ability to have dedicated program space that they currently don't have now. They have to share the rooms, so they will have a dedicated cooking craft room, and this is just some ideas of what that could be. In addition, they will also have a dedicated fitness room with fitness equipment, but also an exercise room, so that could be used for Zumba or yoga or any type of exercise like that. Moving on to the library, again, this is just a concept of some of the different designs that we're looking at with a dedicated circulation desk closer to the front of the building to be more welcoming. There'll be dedicated youth room space, dedicated teen room space, and then some different layouts for computers. So that wraps up our short video on this project, but if you have more questions or want to see more details or have an interactive conversation with us, we are having another meeting. It is our third public meeting about this project. It will be held Monday, October the 4th at 6 p.m., not 10 p.m., 6 p.m., October the 4th at the library. So feel free to bring your questions there.